Let's talk about one of the biggest, most expensive mistakes you can possibly make, confusing looking rich with actually being rich. You see, they're not the same thing at all. In fact, most of the time, they're polar opposites. And really getting that difference, well, that's where financial freedom is either won or lost for good.
Okay, so let's just dive right in with a tale of two lives. On the left, you've got Marcus. He makes a really solid $85,000 a year. He drives this brand new, head-turning truck, and his Instagram, it's basically a highlight reel of fancy dinners and trips to Cancun. From the outside, Marcus looks like he's crushing it. Now meet Tyler. Same job, same city, same 85 grand salary. But Tyler, he drives a reliable, paid-off Camry, and, he just leads a much quieter life. He doesn't look rich at all, but he's the one who's actually building real wealth.
So, how is this even possible? You've got the same income, the same starting line, but these two are headed for completely different financial planets. And the answer isn't some big secret hedge fund strategy. Nope, it's in the quiet, almost invisible choices they're making every single day.
So let's start by breaking down what I call the status tax. This is that hidden premium you pay, not for quality or function, but purely for image. It's the silent, sneaky math that keeps people like Marcus running as hard as they can on a treadmill that from the outside looks a whole lot like success.
You know, the biggest symbol of Marcus's so-called success is that truck. It's the first thing you see. It's the ultimate status signal. It's also the financial anchor that is dragging his entire future straight to the bottom of the ocean. That monthly payment alone, it's a staggering
$867 every single month for a vehicle that's literally shedding value the second it drives off the lot. It's not an asset, it's this massive depreciating weight, and it's funded entirely by debt. So when you add it all up, you've got the truck payment, the higher insurance for it, the rent for that trendier apartment, all the costs of just maintaining that rich lifestyle. What's actually left over at the end of the month for Marcus to build a future with? The grand total is $133. He earns $85,000 a year, and he is one flat tire away from a full-blown financial crisis. You see, he isn't broke, not technically, but he is absolutely 100% trapped.
And this right here, this chart shows the devastating cost of that status tax. Tyler, just by choosing to avoid it, frees up almost $2,400 every single month to invest. That's not a gap, that's a canyon. And over time, that canyon is where one person builds themselves a prison and the other builds a foundation for real, actual freedom.
And if you're thinking, well, that's just a made-up story, this slide right here shatters that whole illusion with some cold, hard data. The #1 car brand for actual American millionaires, it's Toyota. Meanwhile, a staggering 86% of all luxury cars are bought by non-millionaires. It's just an incredible flip of what we're all taught to believe. The costume of wealth is statistically worn by the people who don't actually have it.
But look, avoiding that status tax is only half the battle. The second major hurdle, well, it's inside your own head. Because even if you save the money, our brains are basically running on this ancient survival software that is just hopelessly outdated for navigating the modern financial world.
Let's just wind the clock back to the 2009 crash for a second. Picture two investors. The market is in total freefall. The headlines are screaming recession, and fear is just everywhere. Investor 1 panics, sells everything, moves it all to cash, waiting for the all-clear signal. Investor 2 feels that exact same fear, but does nothing. He just keeps investing on schedule. Well, guess what? That all-clear signal never comes, and by the time Investor 1 feels safe enough to jump back in, the market has already roared back. The difference in their outcomes isn't just big, it's life-changing.
Now, the crucial thing to get here is that Investor 1 doesn't have a character flaw. He just has a human brain. His reaction is driven by this incredibly powerful cognitive bias called loss aversion. All it means is that the pain of losing a dollar feels, psychologically, about twice as bad as the pleasure of gaining a dollar. It's an ancient instinct that kept our ancestors from getting eaten by lions, but in the modern world, it absolutely destroys investment portfolios.
And this isn't just some theory. Check this out. Over 30 years of data shows the S&P 500 returned over 10% a year. But the average investor, who's jumping in and out trying to time the market based on fear and greed, their actual return was less than 4%. That massive gap you see, that is the literal price you pay for letting your caveman brain manage your money.
So, if looking rich is a trap and our own brains are basically wired to betray us, what's the actual path forward? Well, the answer is kind of counterintuitive, and let's be honest, it's pretty boring. But it's the only path that consistently and reliably works.
The mechanics themselves are incredibly simple. First, you just kill any high-interest debt. Credit cards, I'm looking at you. That's a guaranteed return on your money right there. Second, you build a 3 to 6 month cash emergency fund. This is your panic-proof firewall. Third, you automate your savings into boring, low-cost index funds every single payday, no emotion involved. And fourth, and this is the secret ingredient, as your income grows over the years, you keep your lifestyle the same. You don't move the goalposts.
And this table just brilliantly illustrates the most powerful secret in personal finance. It is not your income that determines how quickly you build wealth. It is your savings rate. The person earning 80 grand but saving half of it will reach financial freedom decades, 34 years, sooner than the person earning $200,000 who just keeps upgrading their lifestyle. You gotta let that sink in. It's not what you earn, it's what you keep.
Now, I gotta warn you, the beginning is a grind. That first $100,000 is by far the hardest part. Compounding isn't really helping you yet. It's almost all your own brute force savings and discipline.
But then, something just magical starts to happen. The math begins to bend in your favor. Once you have $1 million invested, at a pretty modest 7% return, your portfolio is generating $70,000 a year all by itself, passively. That's more than the median U.S. household income earned while you sleep. That is the crossover point. That is when your money officially starts working harder than you do.
So why go through all this boring, disciplined work? What is the actual point of all this? Because the goal isn't just to see a number get bigger on a screen. It's about what that number truly buys you. And it's not the truck or the trips to Cancun. It's something so much more valuable.
Most of us know what financial captivity feels like, right? It's that low-grade chronic anxiety just humming in the background of your life. It's lying awake doing tire math at 2 in the morning wondering how you'd cover a surprise expense. It's knowing your bank balance by heart because it never, ever seems to change.
So the first thing real financial freedom feels like is quiet. That background hum of anxiety, the one you've probably carried for so long you forgot it was even there, it just stops. And you really don't realize how loud that noise was until it's finally gone.
And next, it's the profound power of the word no, the ability to turn down a project you hate or a bad boss or an obligation, not because you're reckless, but because your actual survival no longer depends on you saying yes to everything.
And ultimately, what it all boils down to is owning your time. Because the greatest luxury in the entire world isn't a watch or a car. It's the quiet confidence of waking up in the morning and knowing your day belongs to you. It's the freedom to decide what your Tuesday morning looks like without having to ask anyone for permission. So in the end, it all comes down to a choice between two paths. There's the path of performance, which gives you the look of success now in exchange for a lifetime of captivity, or there's the quiet, boring path of mechanics, which offers very little validation today but leads to genuine, lasting freedom tomorrow. We all know the difference, but that gap between knowing and doing, that's where our entire financial future is decided. So which path are you on?